Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po sa pagkakataon. Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a presentation. Gusto ko muna, bago ako magsalita, while they're preparing it, una ko sa lahat, kaya kanina ho, tinicheck ko yung documents. Ngayon ko lang nalaman na ngayong umaga lang sinubmit yung ibang dokumento. Ngayon lang ho. Yes, Mr. Chair. So, matagal na ho to, Mr. Chair, na sinabi. And in fact, ang hirap sa marami nating kasama na hindi sila nabibigyan ng guidance tungkol dito sa mga dokumentong to. Maybe Mr. Gerland would like to react on my statement. Go ahead, please. Mr. Chair, with your permission.
Mr. Chair, we would like to clarify, sir, that our submission of the documents was made yesterday.
Yes, I acknowledge that majority of the documents, 95%, was received yesterday on I think 3:30 or 3 o'clock. But there was a few documents additional received this morning. I think those are the ones mentioned by
And,
Representative Defensor.
same documents.
Those are the same.
Yes, sir.
So those are the same.
Mr. Chair, just I'd like to clarify because I've been looking to the documents. Hindi ko po nakita yung tinatanong ko kanina. But Comsec Marivic, Attorney Marivic was kind enough to point out the soft copy. Pero Mr. Chair, ang hirap din naman po that we're coming into the hearing and these are voluminous documents. Para malaman lang natin, para at alam ng taong bayan, pagka pinagsama-sama natin yung mga copies na yun, siguro mga ganito kakapal yun para basahin natin. And mahirap pong basahin itong mga to, hindi ganun kadali dahil these are financial documents. And you really have to make an understanding, kailangan mong intindihin ano talaga itong dokumentong to. But at any rate, Mr. Chair, let me proceed with my presentation.
Let's proceed.
Yes. Mr. Chair, before I begin, gusto ko malaman, sino bang presidente ngayon ng Lopez Holdings?
Si Tirona,
Attorney.
Salvador Tirona. Mr. Salvador Tirona is on Zoom.
Yes. May I know the chairman? Because Mr. Tirona is the president. Who is the chairman?
Chairman is, I think, Lopez, P.K. Lopez.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the chairman of the board now, Lopez Holdings, is Mr. Federico Lopez.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, before I begin, gusto ko lang iklaro. Mr. Federico Lopez was not involved dito sa sitwasyon to. Bago na po itong Lopez na to. At yung pong DBP, nakaharap natin ngayon, I'm not sure kung sa legal department, they were there that time, pero let's say Mr. Herbosa and the others, Attorney Adjong, hindi rin po sila involved. I just want to put that for the record. In the same manner na si Mr. Federico Lopez, kilala ko sa business circle at maganda po ang pagkakilala sa kanya. I just want to clarify that in the same manner na yung si Presidente during the hearing was saying na naawa siya kay Mr. Mark Lopez and Mr. Carlo Katigbak of ABS-CBN dahil hindi naman sila kasama doon sa punot dulo ng problema. Having said that, Mr. Chair, gusto kong ipaliwanag na itong loans na pinag-uusapan natin was an offshoot of the investigation of ABS-CBN. Dahil ang punto ng Presidente dito, ginagamit o wino-weaponize ang mass media in order to seek favors, in order to seek, in this particular case, loans from the TBP. Ginagamit po yung mass media para gamitin, makautang, magamit para sa negosyo. Yan po yung naging unang punto nun na binabanggit ng ating Pangulo. And rent-seeking, oligarchy, these are the key terms used by the President. So if I may, the first part, I'll go by this step by step if the team can assist me on the presentation. The DBP loan investigation by the ABS-CBN Lopez Group of Companies. So I'll go through this step by step. Una po sa lahat, next slide please. Ang mga loans po na to, nagsimula noong 1995. Yan po ang loan, parang hindi makita ata, ng loan ng Bayan Telecommunications. Ito po ay isang syndicated term loan, $374.4 million. Ang ginamit na collateral dito ay estate mortgage on present and future real assets. Outstanding balance by 2006, so from 1995 to 2006, hindi po nakapagbayad ng 576 million. Pagkaklaro, hindi lang naman po sa DBP yan. Again, syndicated, marami pong nagpautang. Tama po, Attorney Quezon, ang aking paliwanag?
Uh, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to refer that question to our resource person, Mr. Tirona.
Mr. Torona, for the record, you may want to respond. Mr. Chair, with your permission.
Mr. Tirona, are you there on Zoom? Please respond to the question.
Yes, Your Honor. I did respond. Yes, that is correct.
So, pagkaklaro lang ho, hindi ito solely with the Development Bank of the Philippines. In May 1996, next slide please, umutang po ang Benpress Holdings ng 157 million pesos. Ang ginamit pong collateral, negative pledge over the assets of Benpress. Next slide. Ang Philippine Home Cable Holdings, o ito na po ang Sky Cable na sinasabi natin, 207 million pesos. Again, syndicated po to, pinagsama-sama, ang total amount was 450 million. At ito po ay under mortgage trust indenture, mortgage participation certificate. Yan po yung sa Sky Cable Corporation. And in the case of Maynilad Water Services, next slide please, ang loan po ibinigay noong year 2000. Ngayon po, kung makikita nyo dyan ang collateral, secured by joint and solidary signature of Benpress. DBP, ano pong ibig sabihin nito? Mr. Chairman, with your permission, if DBP Legal Services again could explain, anong ibig sabihin ng joint and solidary signature of Benpress?
Attorney Adjong, please respond.
Sir, it only means that the surety is solidarily liable for the loan obligation.
Okay.
So pag hindi po nakabayad yung borrower, then si surety is also considered a
Borrower.
liable under the surety sheet.
Tama po ba, Attorney Adjong, na yung mga mismong kasama doon sa korporasyon, gumagawa sila ng garantiya kung sino man yung mga nandoon?
Surety, yes, Your Honor.
Now, para ho maliwanag,
Yung-
naintindihan ho natin, pero yung taong bayan, para na nakikinig at nanonood sa atin ngayon, kung ako po may kumpanya at direktor ako sa kumpanyang yon, pag pinautang ako ng bangko, bukod doon sa garantiya, bukod doon po sa pag-utang niya, ang garantiya ko ay yung pagpirma ko na pag hindi nakabayad, ako mismo personal magbabayad sa utang.
Kung sino po yung nag-execute ng surety sheet.
Okay. Sa makatuwid, tama po ba, Atty. Adjong, laway lang to?
No, sir.
Ay, ano
Sir,
pong collateral?
It means, sir, that we consider the net worth of the person or the corporation executing the surety sheet.
Okay, sige. Ang sinasabi niyo po, si Congressman Marcoleta, mayaman, nasa kumpanya siya, o hindi, bukod, ginagarantiyan niya. Pero ang ibig po sabihin nito, Atty. Adjong, wala siyang ibinigay na bahay, wala siyang ibinigay na lupa, wala siyang ibinigay na kahit ano, o shares niya, na para ginagarantiyan niya yung loan. Katulad po tayo, pag bumili ng bahay, naka-loan yung bahay natin pag umutang tayo. Pag meron tayong kotse, sasabihin natin pautang, ito po yung kotse natin. Sa pawn shop, pag ikaw may relo, may sing-sing, bibigay mo, para yung dito ho, walang ganon.
Yung
Atty. Adjong, huwag mo
yes,
naman
sir, I'm
ikomplika.
trying to explain, sir, that yes, he is liable solidarily
Yeah, I
with the
know.
borrower.
I'm asking is,
So in
meron
other
bang
words, sir,
collateral na pisikal? Meron
wala,
bang
sir.
sing-sing?
Not
Meron
on
bang
the-
lupa? Wala.
Not on a specific property.
Oh, parang sinabi po natin, may kumpanya si Congressman Marcoleta, sinasabi lang nyo, dahil nakita nyo mayaman siya, yung pirma niya sapat na para pautangin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so sa makatuwid, at least in my interpretation, wag na po kayo, laway para sa akin. Walang ibinigay na collateral, yung kanya lang pagkatao ang ginamit
Hindi naman
niya.
laway, face value.
Face value, face value. Tinagalog ko lang, Mr. Chairman.
Character loan, character loan.
Oh. I apologize to the members of the committee if face value may be the correct term. Now, I'll go to the next. Ito ho, tanong ko. Binigay niyo po ba yan sa amin, DBP? Minutes number 9, Resolution 0251. Nasa amin po ba yan? Wala. Ako na po sasagot, Mr. Chair. Wala po. Wala. And kaya ko po ito binabanggit, Mr. Chair. Makikita nyo, nasa DBP yan. And yet, hindi binigay sa committee. Now, I'll proceed to the next. Next slide, please. Yan po ang resolution number 0219. Manila Water Services Special One-Shot Transaction, Clean Bridge Facility of 1 billion. Attorney Jong, ano pong ibig sabihin ng Clean Bridge Facility?
Sir, in general terms, it means that they are given financing while awaiting some other form of financing.
Yung pong bridge.
Yes,
Pero yung clean, ibig sabihin, walang collateral.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, ang ibig sabihin, nagbigay kayo ng 1 billion dahil meron kayong sinasabing, oh, may darating pala siyang pera. Di ba? Parang ganun po yung naging pag-uusap niyo dyan. Binigyan ngayon ng pautang in the year 2000. 1 billion po to. Alam nyo, Mr. Chair, sa aking mga kasama, ang hirap po umutang eh. Kahit na yung bridge facility, kailangan maglagay ka ng isang tinatawag na collateral o garantiya tungkol dito. Pero dito po ang linaw. In the year 2000, and this document I'm presenting to you right now was not given to us, Mr. Chair. It is there with DBP. Hindi po binigay sa atin yan. Now, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, tatanungin ko po, pwede po bang sinabi ng isang bangko, well, I guess the private banks, okay lang po yan. But for government financial institutions, na meron akong utang na darating, without collateral, pwede po sila magpautang? Bangko Sentral, Ms. Cube, magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Yes, good morning, Chairman, again. In practice, banks can actually provide loans that are not secured. So loans are actually classified as secured and unsecured, sir.
Yes. Ngayon po, Ms. Cube, if I may, Mr. Chair, di ba ho binibigay itong mga to for a bridge financing? Meron kang record talaga. Meron ka talagang pagbabayad. Hindi yung biglang nagkaroon na lang ng sumulpot, bibigyan ka ng 1 billion clean bridge credit facility. Because it is very hard to get a bridge facility. You have to have the track record, you have to have the net worth. In this particular case, you have to have the collateral. Is that not right, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, if I may, at the end, it has to conform with the internal policies and procedures and credit granting policies and procedures of DBP. So the board and management should ensure that it conforms and complies with this criteria that they themselves have set.
So in this particular case, Mr. Chair, hindi nga nakapagbayad. So you can see that there was a mistake, Mr. Chair. Again, from BSP.
Mr. Chair, I regret I cannot comment whether there is a misjudgment on the grant of the loan because I don't have the facts, and it would be for DBP to reply to that if the grant of the loan was in conformance with the internal policies and procedures of the bank.
Thank you, Ms. Cube. Tama po naman. Just to be fair, you were not there in the discussion
Mr.
and
Chair, may I
the
interject?
presentation of documents by
Mr. Chair, may I interject?
Lopez Group of companies as regards this particular loan.
Are you willing to?
Deputy Speaker,
Please, like to recognize the Honorable Marcoleta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam from the Central Bank, is it not true that Section 143 of the Manual of Registrations for Banks, MORB, sets forth the guidelines on credit risk management to ensure that financial institutions such as DBP have adequate and effective comprehensive credit risk management system? Ito po yung sa position paper ninyo. So in replying to the Honorable Defensor, meron po kayong guideline. Tama po.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have guidelines that are principles based, and the granularity of that should be laid down clearly and articulated in a manner that is understandable and implementable and feasible by the bank concerned.
That is correct. But the Honorable Defensor is trying to articulate that, there are certain loan proponents na wala namang collateral at hindi maliwanag, pero pero binibigyan ng ganun-ganun lang. How does this Section 143 operate pagka ganun lang kaluwag pala? Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if I may ask the accounting group of DBP, yung pong 9 billion na loan na binabanggit natin because these were 1996 loans, eventually nagkaroon ng failure 2006. Magkano na value niyan ngayon? More or less. Based on inflation, based on the projections. Ang ano lang po, more or less, a projection of what you want. 37% of the past value, 37%.
We have to ask our investment bankers to compute that, sir.
Would
Because
anyone be
it's
able to
like,
answer that question?
future valuation, so.
Thank you. Anyway, Mr. Chair, I would think it would be somewhere in the vicinity of 12 to 15 billion, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Chair. Would that be a correct estimation?
No daw, no.
Don't worry, a case won't be filed if you answered wrongly. It was just a...
Maybe you should apply the 2% per year inflation.
Okay, Mr.
You
Chair.
multiply it and you compound it. You will get the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, again, as I've stated, ito po ang mga dokumentong tinatago ng DBP. Next slide. Ito naman po yung nangyari. Minutes of the 2004 meeting, December 16, minutes number 39. Ito po ang mga members present. Ito, andyan ang chairman, vice chairman, and the directors. May tanong lang po ako. Chairman Anyagas was there? Tama po ba? Who can answer me? Corsec of the board.
Based on that document, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nanyagas was present in that meeting, sir.
Who else were present? Sino po bang nandun pa nung aprubahan to?
Like the same answer, Mr. Chairman, those named therein.
Can you state them for the record?
Yes, sir. The others present are Honorable Reynaldo G. David, who is the Vice Chairman, and the following members of the Board of Directors. Honorable Fernando T. Barican, Honorable Elidio V. Jimenez, Honorable Alexander R. Magno, Honorable Ricardo G. Nepomuceno Jr., Honorable Floro F. Oliveros, Honorable Joseph N. Pangilinan, and Honorable Ray Magno Tebes, Mr. Chairman.
And the others present?
Also present there, Mr. Chairman, are Mr. Jaime De La Rosa as consultant, Senior Executive Vice President Edgardo F. Garcia, Executive Vice President Carlos R. Cruz, Vice President Lutgarta C. Baquirad Peralta, Assistant Vice President Maria L. Ramos, and Attorney Jose Manuel I. Jokno, sir.
Would you know the personalities of those people? Like si Mr. De La Rosa is a consultant. Tama po, Attorney Gerlan?
Yes, sir, it appears from that document.
Yes. And Senior Executive Vice President po si Mr. Edgardo Garcia.
Yes, sir.
Executive Vice President si Mr. Cruz po.
Yes, sir. He was then the Chief Legal Counsel of DBP, sir.
Chief Legal Counsel. Then you have the Vice President, Mr. Peralta, Assistant to the Vice President. Is that correct? Assistant Vice President pala.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Maria Ramos. And then Attorney Jokno. Is this Attorney Chel Jokno?
I believe that is him, sir.
Bakit nandito rin siya? What is the classification?
I am not aware, sir, in what capacity he was present in the
At any rate, Mr. Chairman, if I may proceed, next slide please. Ito ho ang nakakatakot dyan. Yung special transactions, letter D. Kasi mahaba po to eh. Minutes number 39, December 16, 2004. Ang nilagay po ninyo kanina, and I ask you, Attorney Adjong, di ba ho may JSS na pinirmahan? Joint Solidary Signature.
Yes,
Tama
sir.
ho?
Yes, sir.
Number 1, tinanggal nyo yung guarantee. The bridge loan facility and peso loan facilities shall be deemed released, and the bridge banks and peso lenders shall have no further recourse against such benpress guarantees. Yan lang ho ang pinang-ahawakan yung collateral, tinanggal nyo pa. Is that correct?
Sir, based on the records available, it appears that the board...
Attorney Adjong, it does not appear. It was done. It was approved by the board.
It was approved, yes, sir, by the board of directors of DBP.
Exactly. Why? Yun lang ang pinangawakan nyo, ba't nyo tinanggal?
I think you have to explain that very well.
I'm sorry, sir, but I would not be able to personally explain it as I was not present.
Who can explain it?
Sir, maybe the record, the
Maybe
what?
maybe we could subpoena one of those present there. Or we can invite first so that those present in that room can, if they recall it.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Pero, again, no, Attorney Jong, pasensya ka na. Hindi naman ikaw to eh. Pero ang pinopoint out ko lang, ito lang ang pinanghawakan ninyo. As an institution, as Development Bank of the Philippines. Can you imagine yung tanong kanina, meron naman sa Pablo. Tapos mag-waiver yung mga financial institutions, pabayaan natin yung private. Kanila yun eh. But for government financial institutions to do this, nakakatakot. Yung 1 billion na yun, from day one, laway. Because the only guarantee you had, yun lang pong garantiya na pinanghawakan nyo, tinanggal. Now, number 2, tingnan nyo po, unconditional waiver, default, accumulated defaults and penalty fees. Default and penalty fees. As of December 31, yung pong hindi nila pagbayad, may mga default sila, may mga penalty. 144 million, tinanggal nyo. Tama po ba, Atty. Jong?
based on record, sir, it appears it was
Atty. Jong, do not
sir.
say it appears because you were there and you know this. I mean, you
Sir,
are
I'm
there.
sorry,
in
I was
the-
not there po. I was not
I
present.
know. What I'm saying is, kasama kasi ito institution. No? Again, Atty. Jong, hindi ikaw to.
For the
Pero
record,
tinanggal
sir.
ang default and penalty fees. Tama po ba?
Based on record, sir.
Based on record. So, Mr. Chair, again, I'm bringing this to the committee. Pagka ho tayo nagkautang, alam nyo, sa housing, ang daming ganyan eh. Lalo ngayong krisis. Hindi nakakapagbayad. Hirap na hirap po silang tanggalin yung mga penalties. Hirap na hirap silang tanggalin. Yung mga may kung ano nung binabayaran po yan, pag hindi ka nakapagbayad, may interest penalty ka, meron kang mga defaults. Yung mga mahihirap po na bumibili ng bahay sa probinsya, dito sa atin. In fact, we had to go to Congress to request for a law para lang matulungan itong mga mahihirap. Pero itong ganito ho, 144 million. Ilang pamilya na ho yan? Ilang tao na po yan? 144 million, again, was waived by the Development Bank of the Philippines. Next slide, please.
Before that,
Yes, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair,
Yes,
I think,
DS Marcoleta.
I think I will urge the Honorable Defensor to probably ask the regulator of the banks and quasi-banks, the central bank. What did the central bank do, or did the central bank know about this, considering that they are the regulatory agency?
I think they will answer the same thing they answered a while ago, that it's an internal procedure and policy.
But the problem, Mr. Chair, this internal policy affects the interests of the entire country and its people.
Yes, I
Can
agree.
we-
That's why it is our job to correct this
Yes.
forever happening again.
Thank you.
For the record, Mr. Chair, and for the comfort of the Honorable Marcoleta, meron po ba kayong reply, Bangko Sentral?
Mr. Chair, as to the particular transaction that is being flashed right now or discussed, I am personally not privy yet, so it may be untimely to comment on the case at hand. But perhaps it would be helpful to say that we conduct on-site examinations, and part of our examination procedures is, of course, to look into the propriety of certain transactions of the bank if it is in scope in our examination.
Are you saying, Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair, does
Yes,
the
DS Marcoleta.
Given that kind of answer, are we made to understand that the central bank does nothing in regard to its regulatory function, like looking into the contracts entered by the debtor and the FIs involved? Because considering that all these are money of the people, I think central bank has an active role in being able to look into all this, particularly the examples already made that even transactions with no collaterals based on JSS only, and there is an action removing the very assurance that those loans can be collected. The central bank as a regulatory agency has the responsibility to look into this and probably even monitor before it happens. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Marcoleta. You may continue, Honorable Defensor.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, before I ask this question, ito po yung special purpose vehicle law.
I'd like to make a suggestion to your humble representation.
Yes, Mr.
Maybe
Chair.
we could invite the chairman then, Vitaliano Naniagas, to shed light on these transactions. What do you think?
I have no problem with that, Mr. Chair. But I think, para sa akin, no, malinaw eh. Ito yung nangyari, klaro sa akin yung mga
Hindi, yung
actions
frame of
taken.
mind nila, bakit sila nagbigay ng mga ganyang concessions? Napakalaki. Diba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. May Comsec please invite former Chairman DBP Vitaliano Naniagas to the next hearing.